have anything they need to add?
I want to thank the Lord for my life. When I look around me and I see all these people, I see people cancer, and one lady here at our church, she's got cancer so bad that she's got to be in bed most of the time. She may get out to church once or twice in the run of a few months. But anyway, I just thank the Lord for my health, because like I said before, and I'll say again, I've been in remission for 10 years, and through them 10 years, I might have been in the hospital for twice for pneumonia and stuff. But my Lord is faithful. My Lord, my goodness, when I think about colds and I think about flus and stuff, and it is nothing compared to what how Jesus is taking care of me and made my life. And I'm in Jabez. I took the Jabez 30-day challenge, and I'm telling you what God will do in those 30 days is going to be totally amazing. He's already done some stuff. I prayed about a boy coming to our church. There was a baby, but there's another boy coming to our church, and I prayed that God would lay it on our hearts that there'd be one besides a baby come. And today there was a boy came to our church, and I just thank the Lord, because I think it's an answer to prayer. Yes. That God is answering prayer every day. I just thank Him for my life, and it's a miracle that I'm still here.
So, Christianity can be kind of overwhelming when you look at the books that have been written on it. You look at the opinions of people that you go to church with. You look at all of the stuff that we go through on a Sunday, the music, the preaching. We have a meal afterwards, and the road that you're on and how hard it is at times, and people always are looking for answers, like, what can we do to change our lives? What gifting should I be praying for? And all of this happens to us, and we realize that there's a basic building block that all of us have. And when I went to a seminar one weekend, what they wanted to do was to get down to the heart of who you are. And that's kind of interesting when they're getting down through the processes of your character, your desires, your goals, your opinions, all kinds of things, and they keep peeling you off like an onion. So what's at the heart of you? What's motivating you? What's driving you? What's causing you to get up in the morning? And you keep peeling off your goals, and then you peel off your desires, and you peel off your characteristics and things like that. And what they try to do is get down to the basic building block of who you are. And what you find out is that for the most part, what our building block ought to be is love. It ought to be that which, if you scratch me, no matter how deep the cut is, what flows out of me is love. Not anger, not resentful, not I'll get you back, not vengeance or anything like that. And so when we look at chapter 3 in 1 John, who was called the Beloved. Interesting enough, John was the disciple that lived to old age. And he was the one that people said that he was the beloved, that Jesus loved him. And I don't know if that had anything to do with longevity, but I want you to understand that the most important thing that we focus on sometimes is, if you want to be better, or you want to feel the presence of God, or anything like that, work on the fact that the basic building block of who we are as a Christian church is love. That's what drives us and motivates us. And so John writes this, and this is really cool. He says this, because sometimes it doesn't feel like this, but listen to what it says. See what great love, and I put the word agape. I'm going to talk to you just about the 4 Greek words for love, just for briefly. I know you've heard them before, I know you know them, but I want to talk about it because sometimes when we read in the Bible, we hear the word love, we all have an opinion of what love is. We all really do, right? When I said to my wife when I first met her, and I used the term love, I don't know which one of the 4 of those words, or maybe all 4 of them, I don't know. And so a lot of times when you say you love somebody, the first thing that comes to mind, especially if you meet somebody for the first time, and you say to that person, I love you. And the question is, what kind of love are you saying? What does it mean, I love you? And for the most part, sometimes it's, I'm excited to get together with you because my life is going to be fulfilled. You're going to bring a lot of stuff to my life. I'm going to get a wife who's going to cook and clean, maybe. I'm going to get a wife that will raise up my children. I will get a wife. And so when I think of love, I'm thinking in terms of all the things that I'm going to get. Right? And it's going to please me. I'm going to be happy. And I'm going to get all these great and wonderful things from her. And maybe she's thinking the same thing about me. And so that's not agape love. That's actually eros love. It's a sexual love. The things I get. It might even be a philia love, where it's a brotherly love, and it's the love that I have for my car or my truck or my house or my job. It's not a real a sacrificial love. It's just love that I'm going to get because I got great things and I got great people around me, and it's that kind of love. So we have to understand the love that God gives you that the world doesn't understand. It's called agape. A lot of people go, well, that's God's love. That's not us. We can't love unconditionally. Well, it's more than unconditional love. And so we have to look at that. So see what great love, agape, the Father has lavished on us. Do you feel that? A lot of times in love, in life, people don't, depending on how the world, how we're going, how our week has been. Had a good week this week. I felt God's love. But when everything hits the fan and everything's going against me, I don't feel that love anymore. So love is based on emotion, how I feel. And that's not the way agape love is. Agape love doesn't change because the person stops giving to you. It doesn't change because the person rejected you. It doesn't change because things didn't go the way you want it to go. The love that God gives us is unchanging because of circumstances around us. That's love. And so that's the love that should be the basic building block of a Christian life. It's that kind of love. It says that the Father has lavished on us. Not just handed it to us, not just, He has lavished on us this agape love. That we should be called children of God. And that's what we are. At the end of the day, you're a child of God, not because of what you did, but what God has done for you. You are a child of God because He poured His love out on you. That we should be called children of God, and that's what we are. The reason the world does not know us, or better yet, does not get us. There's a reason the world don't get us. Because it didn't get Him. And the reason it didn't get Him is because of the unconditional love. The world does not understand unconditional love. The world does not know that. It doesn't know how my brother-in-law's brother could go into prison to forgive the man that killed his daughter. The world doesn't understand that. When you see that kind of love being poured out and being exercised in life, the world doesn't give that because the world's love is selfish. They want something in return. If I love you, I want something back. If I do something good for you, I will do something back. What if your spouse just absolutely turned 180 and went the other way and didn't reciprocate any love for you? Not even at all. Just had a moment of, I'm going the other way. The first thing you would think is, I'm going to withdraw my love. My love has changed. I don't love you anymore. Because why? Because you don't love me. But that's not unconditional love. That's not agape love. So we need to look at that. So here we go. Number one, eros love is what we talked about. Eros love is, in one word, is one word for love. It describes, as we might guess from the word itself, erotic love. It refers to sexual love. And that's usually the first, when I love you, a lot of times it's that kind of a love. Secondly is storge. Storge was the second word for love. It's referred to family love, like we have for between parents and child, between members of our family. It's general, storge. I think I got that right, isn't it? Storge? My Greek friend right here will let me know if I get this wrong. But that's the kind of love that we have for family. And so what is really cool in the Greek language is when they say the word love, they don't say the word love, they use one of these terms. We don't do that. We use the word love, then we got to figure it out what you really mean when you say you love me. Philia is the third word for love. It's spoken of a brotherly friendship or affection. It is the love of deep friendship and partnership, deep love. And philia, love, might be described as the highest love, listen to this now, might be described as the highest love that one is capable of without God's help. The world is likely, that's about the limit that the world will go in general. That they will love somebody deeply. Agape is the fourth word for love. Listen to what it says. It describes, now I want you to listen to this because this is the love that we have. This is the love when it said that I poured my love into you. This is what he poured into you. So this is what should come out. It should come out in this characteristic of what this says. Agape love is fourth love. It describes a love that loves without changing. You think of the number of times that your love has changed. Changed over different things. It changes usually by the weather. And I don't mean the weather. I mean the conditions of your life. People that you loved when you were younger, you don't maybe love anymore. It's changed because they changed. People that you thought you were in love with, you're not in love with because they changed, right? But it says that agape love, it loves without changing. It doesn't change its mind. That's God. Can you imagine if God changed his mind because we weren't working out or we weren't measuring up to his expectation? Like a lot of times will happen to us. It is self-giving love that gives without demanding or expectation or repayment. It is self-giving love that gives without demanding or expecting repayment. I watched a movie a long time ago. I think it was called Fireproof. Some of you may have watched that movie a long time ago. Had who? Kirk Cameron in it. And it was about a relationship with a woman and a relationship between him and a woman where she just basically checked out sometime, right? And I think he was talking to his father. It might have been a pastor. It might have been his father. I'm not sure who the guy was. It was a long time ago. And he said, well, you have to woo her back. And the beginning of that was just brutal. She wanted nothing to do with them. Like she was checked out of the marriage a long time ago. And he said, you have to, but he said, but what if she doesn't reciprocate? He said, that doesn't matter. You're going to love her anyway. And it was like, and I think a lot of people, it really has helped. Because expect no repayment. What happens if people don't reciprocate your love? Now we could be talking about family. We could be talking about people just in the world in general. People that you work with, right? You know, you check out with them. Oh, I don't want nothing to do with them because they don't act the way I want them to act, or they don't do what I want them to do. So you check out, right? They don't deserve your love. And that's not agape love. It is love so great that it can be given to the unlovable or unappealing. How can you love some people that are worthless? Don't measure up. Got nothing to give you. It is love that loves even when it is rejected. Agape love gives and loves because it wants to. It does not demand or expect repayment from the love given. It's given because it loves. It does not love in order to receive. That's agape love. That, my friend, is the basic building block. If we peeled you down like an onion and got to what it was that your life was built on, we just sang that song, My Life Was Built On. What is it built on? It was love, right? The basic building block is love. What kind of love? Not a love that has conditions. I will love you if you love me first. I will love you if I can get something from you, right? That's the kind of love that the world has. So listen to what it says. Here it goes. For in this message you've heard from the beginning that we should love, agape, one another. That was critical. That was the basic teaching of Jesus from the get-go, was that this is how they're going to know us from everybody else in the world, is the love that we have for one another. And if you think of churches, I mean, my heavens, just to get a church to love each other in this setting is hard enough. But try getting the church to love another church down the road. That's not the same denomination. Or is the same denomination. Just try to get that to work out. And you find out how hard it is to have unconditional love for people if they don't jump through your hoops or meet your expectations. And that's the problem that's in our world right now. How much love do you need to stop what's going on in Israel? What's it going to take? How many people has to die before there's a truth or a truce? So he talks about this. So then he explains it like this. So this is what John does. He goes in and explains what love is. I want to know what love is. What's the next sentence? Yeah, you got it. Yeah. As I was going through this sermon, time and time again, I was saying things in my head that's going, I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. And I can only hear, like, I don't know what it is, Journey? I don't even know who sings that. It was like, it was coming around and I can't do that. Because it just sounds like a song. Yeah. I want you to, I want to know what love is. So this is what John's going to do. He's going to lay it out for you. He's going to tell you what it is and what it's not. Listen to what he says. First thing he says is this: do not be like Cain. We know who Cain is? Cain was who? Who was his mom and dad? Adam. Now get this for a minute. Who's your mom and dad? Adam and Eve. And listen to what it says. Do not be like Cain, who belonged to the evil one. What kind of parents was Adam and Eve that their son belonged to the evil one? How hard is that as a parent, right? Anyway, so it says this. So don't be like Adam and Eve, who belonged to the evil one. And he murdered his brother. Why did he murder him? He murdered him because his own actions were evil and his brother's was righteous. A lot of times, the basic building block that I was talking about, which is built on agape love, if it's not your basic block, if it's just something that you've added on, like I'm a terrible person, I've got anger, I've got jealousy, I've got fits of rage, and I'm trying to hold it all in, I'm just trying to do the right thing, and things like that, and you realize that you're struggling, and usually what you're struggling on is you've never made to the point, you got to the point where you just allowed God to lavish you in His love. It changes the countenance of who you are. Let me tell you what it looks like. There was a man in a small town who was an alcoholic. He was a town drunk, and he beat up a lot of people. He hated people. And he would get in fights. Sometimes he would go to church just to get in fights with the people in the church. And everybody was afraid of him. Everybody hated him. And they thought, like, and then one day, he had an experience, and he showed up at church. And he stood up. And everybody went, oh no, what's he going to say? And he said, I just want to let you know, yesterday I hated you people. And everybody went, yeah you did. You know, black eyes, you know, tooth missing, and, you know. And he goes, yeah, you did. And he said, I just want to let you know, I love you people now. I love you with the love of the Lord. That's the change. That's the change that you look for in people. It's not that they're speaking in tongues now. Oh, look, they're going to church now. Oh, look, they got this done in their life, and they're changed, they made a change here, those are all wonderful things. But the bottom line is, the love that you have for people that you never loved before is the telltale sign of your Christianity. The amount of love that you have for people that you would not have had under any other natural condition or other relationship. And all of a sudden now, you have changed. That's a determining factor. That's what I look for in Christianity. Not how many times you show up at my church, not how many times you participate up front or you do anything like that. What I'm listening for is the love that you have for other people. Other people that grate against you. Other people that would send you over the brink if it was in any other condition. but the fact that you have the love of God, the agape love of God inside of you now. And I watch when people grate against you, and I see what pours out of you is love, not anger. Then I know. So that was the difference. The reason that Cain was evil, or the reason that he acted the way he did was his brother killed his brother, what was on the inside. And not only that, but what agitated him was the fact that his brother was righteous. People don't get that. Do not be surprised, my brothers and sisters, if the world hates you. Cain hated Abel. And it wasn't Abel's fault. The world hates you. And if you didn't understand that, you likely understood that more in the last 3 years, that Christianity is not high on the list of the world of things that they like anymore. And they will do everything they can to shut us down. Do not be surprised, my brothers and sisters, if the world hates you. We know that we have passed from death to life because we love, agape, each other. That's how we know. Not by what giftings you have, not by the number of days that you set in church, not where you spend Sunday. The reason that we know that we have passed from death to life is that we realize that we love the people that we are sitting beside, in front of, or around. And when people go, I don't have to go to church, I don't question their answer to that is why they don't want to go to church or why they don't think. I question their love for the fellowship. That's what I question. Why wouldn't you want to be? If I didn't want to go home, what would be the first thing that you would accuse me of if I didn't want to go home? You don't love your wife. That's the first thing you would say. Why don't you want to go home? I don't love my wife. Now, I could have reasons why I don't want to go home, but the bottom line is, if I loved my wife, where would I be? I'd be at home. We know that we have passed from death to life because we love each other. Anyone who does not love, agape, remains in death. Now people will say, well, I love. And I go, I don't doubt that. I love homeless people while they're being homeless. Don't bring them into my house. I don't want to do that. That's a different kind of love. I can love a lot of things, but as long as it doesn't affect me. You know? People say I'm not racist. And then their daughter or son starts dating a person from a different culture. And then you'll find out whether or not you're truly racist. You can say whatever you want. But for the most part, it's only skin deep. It's not till it's challenged that you find out what's on the inside. And the thing is, if you don't love somebody in an agape way kind of way, if you don't love that person will drive you crazy and get under your skin all the time. But I love him. No, that's philia. That's brotherly love. That's not agape love. How do I know it's philia love? Because the minute they open their mouth, you cringe, you want to go in another room. That's how you know. Right? So that's the thing. Agape love remains in death. Anyone who hates a brother or sister. Now John, who was the beloved, who, if you look on the Lord's Supper, he was sitting with Jesus, he was right beside Jesus. He was always right beside Jesus. So he picked this up from Jesus. Anyone who hates a brother or sister is a murderer. That's how serious that is. If anybody hates a brother or sister, and you would say, I don't hate that person, I love that person. And I would challenge the word, which one of the four is it? Just tell me which one of the four, right? Because if they're not doing anything for you, or they're agitating you, or things like that, and you lose your patience, and all this stuff that goes on and on and on, you find out that you don't love them, but you would not admit to hating them. But really, what is God saying when he sees it? So anyone, and it goes on to say, and you know that no murderer has eternal life. So that's the level that that John is talking about love. That's the kind of relation. He's not talking about a feel-good, emotional, when it works out, I love everybody, but the minute it hits the fan, I'm out, I check out, I don't want to love those people, right? And so when you have conditions as to people that you love or don't love, or when you can control yourself, you will control yourself with the person you love. You will not control yourself with the person that you don't love. That's how you know. When you lose your patience and all that, you'll lose it with the person that you don't love, but you will likely hold your tongue with the person that you love. That's kind of how you know. And I'm stepping on some toes. This is how we know what love is. I want you to show me. I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. Jesus, I want to know what love is, and I want you to show me. And he went, huh, okay, I'll show you. This is how we know what love is. What's our example? Is our example some couple, young couple that is madly in love, and we're sitting there looking at them and going, wow, I wish I was like them. What's love? What's love? You know, somebody gave you some money to help bail you out of some trouble. You go, well, that's love, right? Or, and it will always be, what's love? It's what people are doing for me. That's love. When you do something for me, you show me your love, and I enjoy that. When you don't give me anything, that's when I get upset that nobody loves me anymore. Nobody's doing anything for me. That's not agape love. That's a love that's ever changing based on emotion and based on what's going on around you. Agape love is what we want to work on. Not being nice to people or kind to people, because we'll only be nice and kind to the people who are doing things for us. We have no problem being nice to people doing things for me. I work on people that grate against me. That's what we work on. This is how I know what love is, agape love. Jesus laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. Now we're going to experience that, and we're going to look at that for a moment. Okay, because that's a pretty heavy thing. Because the first thing you think about is, well, Jesus died for me. And I have to die for other people. Not necessarily physically, but you certainly have to do spiritually and emotionally. Listen to what he says. This is how we know what love is. It said Jesus laid down his life for us. He laid it down. Right? Listen to what it says. Who being in the very... This is what he laid down for you. This is what he laid down for you. Who being in the very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. What does that mean? He didn't use the idea that, hey, I'm checking out. I'm the Son of God. I'm not doing anything. I got immunity. I'm not going to earth. I'm not going to die for those people. I'm God. Right? He didn't use that. He could have likely played the God card. Hey, I'm going to do that. He did not consider equality with God, Father, Son, something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing. Now, I'm going to show you this in a minute. But rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant. Not a king. I'll go down, God, if you make me king. But I don't want to be born in a stable. And I don't want to be the butt of every joke. But being in the very human likeness, being made in a very human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself to becoming obedient to death, even death on the cross. He went from this to this. From this to this. That's love. From this to this. For you. How much did he have to pour out to get to that? From that. That's Revelation 1. Walks amongst the 7 golden candlesticks, 7 stars in his right hand. He went from that to that. That, my friends, is agape love. This is how we know that love, agape, that Jesus laid down his life for us. And we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. And the question becomes, what does that look like? I want to know what that looks like. Am I going to go to the cross for you guys? Like, is that what I'm supposed to do? And John says, well, no. Maybe. Many have done it. But maybe that's not what he wants. Listen to what it said. We ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. Jesus technically didn't die, although he did. But, I mean, he's God, right? And he rose again on the third day. The 3 days he was in the belly of the earth, he was doing some of God's business. So technically, but here's what happened. His life was seriously interrupted. Seriously interrupted. Do you understand? To go from this to this, there's what we call an interruption in life. He had plans. I'm sure this all worked out, but at the end of the day, there was serious interruption in his life. And if you want to experience the love of Christ in your life, then you have to have some serious interruptions in your life for other people around you. Serious interruptions. Listen to what it says. If anyone has material possessions. Now he's explaining himself, because I want to know what love is. Show me. Jesus laid down his life for me. Okay, I get that. But he's not talking about the death part. He's talking about the surrendering. He's talking about, at the very most, laying down everything for Christ and for you. This is what he says. If anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need and has no pity on them, how can the love, agape of God, be in that person? So what he's saying is, how do I lay down my life for my brothers and sisters? Well, that's telling us. It's using a material possession in order to explain to you that that's kind of what this is about. This is about how much are you willing to be interrupted for people that you love. How big does your bank account have to get? How many cars do you have to own? How comfortable did you have to be in order that you're going to give everything away for somebody else? There was a thing going around in church years ago in the 80s where this young kid got a birthday present. I think it was like a toonie, and when they passed the collection plate, he made a decision. I really didn't want to put my toonie in. I would have liked to put my toonie in and get $1 back. But he said, I had to make a decision. Was I going to give it all to God? Or was I going to refrain from giving it? And so he made the decision to put the toonie in. And he was a little kid. And years later, he came back to the church. And he's a millionaire. And he stood up and he testified. I was here when I was 8 years old, and I had to make a decision whether I was going to give God everything or I was going to withhold. He said, I gave God everything. The old lady at the back of the church said, hey, why don't you try doing it again? Now that he's a millionaire. How much are we willing to give? My guess is we're willing to give proportionally to how much we trust God. That's how we give. If I had $10 in the bank account and somebody needed $10, I'd say I can't give it to you because then I won't have my $10 and I might need it. My faith is what dictates how much I'm willing to give and how far I'm willing to go for people. How far are you willing to go? Without making excuses. Let me see, no pity on them. How can love, agape of God, be in that person? If he's analyzing whether or not he's got enough. It says, dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with action and truth. So here's what this looks like. Jared had a really great testimony. Jared is in serious medical problems right now with his eye. He's out of work. and his biggest thought right now should be my eye. I'm out of work. Things will kick in time. Just trust in God. But he still has this eye thing. That's likely the most important thing on his head all the time. It's why did you do this, God? Why am I losing my eye? Why is this a serious? What's going on? What are you doing? And you have all of these thoughts going through your head. And he gets up, and if I get this wrong, you can tell it if you want.
I don't.
We're going to talk this through. We're going to talk this through. I'm going to get you to talk because it's your story. So when I ask you a question, you answer it. How's that?
Deal.
So you get to the point in your life where, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit here, he's been involved with us for a number of years and sees our church functioning. He sees the depth of the church, and he sees that. And he's a young Christian, right? And so he's experiencing what we're experiencing, but sometimes he's not there yet because he's 7 or 8 years old as a Christian. So he sees us who are 40 years old in the Christianity, and he sees all the things that God's doing. And it's hard to feel a part of that when you really don't feel that. You've experienced a similar thing. You've been Christian for years and years and years, and all of a sudden you had a year and a half ago or 2 years ago now, you had a change and a real revelation in your life about having a serious relationship with God. And then you feel like we do now. Like you get what it says when I feel the presence of God in my life. I feel that now, right? And so he gets to the point now that he could do one or two things. He can focus on his eye, and he can wallow in self-pity and doubt and wonder about if God's ever going to, fix it. He can do that. So he gets to a point in your life, and I think hear me out, if I'm right on this, you said, Lord, I just have a heart for homeless people.
Yeah.
Right? I just have this awakening to him. Like God, and Michael had it when he got to, I'm ready for a life and a wife, and I'm ready.
Yeah.
But that ready is not just word, because if it's word, nothing will change.
Right.
If it was just words, nothing will change.
Yeah.
Right? You'll still be single because you didn't mean it. Right? And so when God knows when you do this, and I think you did this, when you do this, it takes so much to get to this. That you can say this all you want, but you're just mad at your circumstances, but you're not willing to change for it. And so God knows that. But when you do this, God, I just want to let go, and God, I just have this heart for it. So the dude goes to his sink, and he looks out of his door. He sees a man on Prince Street and his neighbor's garbage, quietly opening up the bag. He pulls out a coat. He's got nothing.
And it's cold.
And it's cold. And he's putting the coat on.
And then
How did you feel? What went through your mind?
broken.
What went through your mind when you saw that? And then, but the cool part was, after he took his coat off, he quietly tied the bag back up again, as not to just kick it off and get what he wants.
Yeah.
He tied the bag back up. He set it back where he was. He got his coat. So what did you do?
I ran outside and I gave him every single coat I owned, every dollar I had, and then I just was his servant for the entire day. I offered my entire day to him. Took his bottles to Subway, and then after he took his bottles, I actually offered him a job. Or actually, I offered him to come back on Friday to see the boss for a job, which was gone, moving in his life even more.
Yeah.
So then I took him back to a place that he was staying at because his house had just gotten torn down because it was condemned. So he was staying with a friend, and then I drove him and his friend way out in Greenfield to this. It's a house, but it's a camp.
Yeah, but your eye must have been hurting. Like you must have been trouble seeing.
Well, yeah,
Like, come on, you got to talk about your eye for a minute, right?
No.
Come on, you can't be talking about other things. Your biggest problem is it's not this dude that got cold. Your biggest problem in your family right now is what's going to happen to you.
And literally, like, I can attest, like, he wouldn't stop talking about how happy he was for this man. And, like, to the point that I was like, yes, that's so good. Like, it's so great. He's like, I feel so much love. I've never felt more full. And I was just like,
Because
Wow, like,
before, if I
different.
seen an able-bodied, I'll be honest, if I seen an able-bodied homeless man, I'd be like, why are you homeless if you're able-bodied?
Yeah,
And be angry, and be
Yeah.
like, you have bitter, like, you
Yeah.
can do that. But then not think about why aren't you?
yeah,
Right? Not have the love of God to be so indebted to this man who's your brother,
yeah,
and you have a duty to help this man,
right,
to give him the shirt off your back,
yeah,
and do whatever you can for him. And that's just, I never had that kind of love for anyone really, other
Right.
than my kids or my wife.
Right.
You know what I mean?
right, that's agape love too. But
Yeah.
that's agape love but the true test of agape love is that you didn't know this guy.
No.
You had a history of going, if you're able-bodied, why are you on the street?
Yeah.
And you're just panhandling,
All of a sudden I see this guy and it just broke my
Yeah.
soul.
But it was so crazy because
And then I
2
brought
days,
him in.
yeah, 3 days prior though, we were reading the word, and he was like, I just wanted to tell you this, but like I have a burden for the homeless. Like I
Yeah.
feel like God has put that on my heart, and then 3 days later,
Yeah.
this
Yes.
happened. There's one.
But then Gracie,
Right?
who was having
So-
to,
He asked, before I take him anywhere, well actually, before I took him anywhere, he was on his bike with 2 bags of his belongings on each handlebar. And he asked if he'd come inside and use the bathroom, and it was really, really cold. First thing in the morning, like 7:30. I'm like, oh my gosh, of course. So I sent him, brought him downstairs, and Grace had just been going through this thing where she didn't have anything to wear, she couldn't find anything to wear, she was frustrated, and
She
then,
was looking for, like, through a closet full of clothes. She was so frustrated, we were getting late for school because she's like, Mom, I don't have anything to wear. And I was out in the kitchen, and before we even seen the man, I was
She didn't know
I was
that
right
I
beside him,
was
I'm like, oh, how do we get her to be grateful? Like, that was my frustration, it's like, how can I teach her to be grateful? I can't. Like, it can't come, I don't know how to do it, I was frustrated. And that's when the homeless man.
the homeless man comes into the house.
Came into the house, and then Gracie, I got to go and be like, there is a man downstairs who has nothing, and it just changed her everything. And she was like, what? And I'm like, so pick something to wear, because gratitude, right?
Right,
So it
Yeah.
changed. God like led it into a lesson for her,
right,
right? And
Right.
he's looking and ready for the people who are seeking. Like, he's
Yeah.
not like holding anything back. He heard his heart for the homeless, and 2
Yeah.
days later, he's like, I want this,
Right.
even more than you want this.
Right.
So it's like he's looking and
Right.
he's-
you have to be a willing and able vessel.
Yeah.
Like Terry said, you could say it 1,000 times, it don't mean nothing, because God knows what's in your heart
right,
and what's in your head.
right,
And whether you're truly ready, if it'll destroy you, or if it'll build you and others.
right. Absolutely. And that's the whole idea, is that at what point do you go, I want that? And so going into this, I assumed that there would have been a lot of issues with the eye and work and money and all that. And how's the tenor of the house now? Like how's things, yeah, like, I mean, you just, yeah, we'll be,
Happy, full.
yeah,
I know, I am, and
I can see
and I remember walking back into the house after giving this man, like, every single one of my coats, like, I don't
Yeah.
have another coat, just so
so if
happens.
anybody got a coat now,
And Madison is standing there, and she's looking at me with tears rolling down her face, with the amount of proudness that I've never seen out of anybody in my whole life, and she's looking at me, and I said, it's not me, honey, that's God, that's not me.
that's agape love. So, the thing is, we get caught up in watching people and thinking that we know what love is because of the way people are treating other people, and going, that's not necessarily love, right? Love is this, right? Love is going, what are you willing to do? Like, because you gotta have an interruption in your life, because your life sucks for a lot of you. Not only sucks that you're but you're going through a lot. You're trying to meet bills. You're trying to get your eye fixed, and you're jumping through hoops, and you haven't get gas. I don't know how I'm going to get to work, and when I do get to work, it's driving me nuts, because you got schedules at Christmas time. I hear nurses, and I hear what's going on at Christmas time. People are having to work. Some aren't. And everything's messed up, and their whole life is just filled with one thing after another, and our whole lives are just built around protecting ourselves and dealing with ourselves and gathering unto ourselves. Not that we're not grateful, or we're just we're so busy that we can't interrupt our life with this. Oh my heavens, what would that look like? I got bigger problems than a homeless guy that's taking a coat out of a bag of garbage on the side of the highway. I got more things in my life going on right now. I can't get that interruption. I haven't got time for that. And so, in your relationship with one another, I'm going to read what I just read to you about what happened to Jesus when he laid it aside. It's not just him that's supposed to lay this aside. Listen what he said. In your relationship with one another, have the same mindset that's in Christ Jesus. Yeah, he laid it aside for you. It wasn't torn off of him. He didn't have a choice. He laid it down. Who being in the very nature of God did not consider equality with God to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing. He got interrupted. He made himself nothing by taking on the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. I could have made a better plan for him than coming the way he did and doing what he did. He could have just we could have made this work out for him where he didn't have to do that. God had a better plan. And being found in the appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Dear children, let us not love agape love with words or speech, because that's the easy way out. It will always be the easy way out. We can spout out "I love you" as quick as any other words that come out of our mouth. I love you. But I'm not willing to be interrupted for you, because I've got too many things going on in my heart, my mind, and my business right now. So when I say I love you, it's just a philia. It's just a philia love. That's all it is. It's a brotherly love. But it comes with conditions, and the conditions is I'm pretty booked right now. But I do love you. But agape love is, what do we need to do to fix this? Well, I got 2 coats. I'll give you both coats, because I can get another coat somewhere. It's not the end of the day for me. I can find another coat. What are you willing to do to lay it down for your brothers and sisters? Because unlike the church that will tell you that there's a lot of proof that you're a Christian, and they'll talk about the giftings, and they'll talk about the attendance, and they'll talk about all this kind of stuff. And they'll talk about it, and talk about it, and talk about it. And at the same time, they'll listen to horror stories within their own church about people that are struggling, and they'll talk about all the stuff about giftings and casting out and laying hands and going to church, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and they keep hearing that, but they don't want to hear the story from people that's going to make them interrupt their life. You don't want to hear that. When the phone rings and somebody's about to cry on the phone, the first thing that comes to your mind is, oh no, I can't go through this. I don't want to do this. I'm tired. But at times Jesus was tired. But he allowed himself to lay down his life. An interruption changed you that are sitting here today. Are you willing to interrupt your life for somebody else? That's agape love.
Joyous. Joyous.
And that's where the joy is.
Shut yourself off, turn Christ on.
Yeah. It's dying to yourself
Use
and allowing other people, a part of you, changes their life. And in doing so, it changes the tenor of your house. From one of worrying about what God could do or what he wants to do, that it doesn't matter what he does now. I don't care. I'm just doing God's will. Whatever that is, whatever happens, come what may. Agape love. I ain't doing it because I would get out of it. I'm just doing it because I love it. And I love him. Let's pray. Father, thank you, Lord. We talk about interruptions in our lives, and we talk about it like it's a big thing. Like, oh, man, I ain't got time for this. Come on, we ain't got time for that. And here it is, God. You have a plan for us. And the plan is that from time to time we'll get an interruption where we'll have to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. Not necessarily dying, but certainly dying to self. Absolutely. I have to die to self because myself says, I ain't got no time for this. Myself says, we can't afford that. Myself would say, we can't do that. We got other things to do. I got more important things to do. I'm saving up. I'm trying to get this. I need this thing here or that thing there. And we just keep talking about it. And if we don't die to that self, we will never understand agape love. Because agape love takes you off the throne and put God's purpose on the throne. And Scott, I would pray for that today. It said that you poured out and lavished on us love. That love is in there. It's not something that we earned. It's not something that we have to be smart enough to figure it out. It's in there. Like some people in this church, you need to just get to a place where you're at the end of your rope. And you can think that you're at the end of the rope, but you're not at the end of the rope because you're still struggling. You're still trying to work it out. You're still trying to provide a way. You're trying to make it happen. You got to get to the end. That's the only thing I can tell you to find agape love is you've got to learn that you've got to die to yourself. And if it's only words, it'll never happen. You can say, I'm sorry 1,000 times over and not mean it. So God, I would pray for that in this church. I would pray for this agape love lavished upon us to be revealed in us. That we understand that we have to love people that we don't get along with. We got to love people. And I'm not talking love in word only. It says that we will, what does it say? Now children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and truth. God, that we would do that. Even when our circumstances suck. And I should be the one that the church is looking after. I should be the one that everything has to come my way. I'm going through. When you realize that the best thing you can do is die to your situation, and then dying to your situation and focusing on what God wants you to do, you realize that you're overcoming the very problems that you were trying to fix. So God, let that happen in us. Let us not just be the word, the church that talks about love. Let us be a word and truth, deed and action. God, have your way in us. God, if we do anything this week, help us to get to the end of self. Help us pour it all out. Empty it out. I got nothing left. Nothing. And God, just fill us with your agape love. Fill it so that the people that we just dread to see, we would just what do you talk to them and just help them. God, have your way. God, just this week, let us have testimonies next week of how they've emptied themselves, allowed themselves to be interrupted for your glory. Bless this food to our bodies in Jesus' name. Amen. Shake hands. You are dismissed.